Hi, I'm going to show you two different ways of exporting a video from Final Cut Pro X and try to explain the differences between those. So first off, I'm using OS X version 10.9.5, Final Cut Pro version 10.1.4, and Compressor version 4.1.3. So if you have a different version, things might look slightly different. So first off, here we are in Final Cut, and I've got a project here. This is just garbage video. It's a 5-minute long clip recorded at a high bit rate. What is it? It doesn't matter. So first I'm going to show you how to export it using the share option. For that you just go to File, Share, and then you have a few choices. The one that people will commonly choose is master file. And you can do this. It's just going to be a big file, and it might not be the codec that you want. So you can see already it's going to be 5.76 gigabytes for a video that's only 5 minutes. So that's pretty big. So let me go ahead and export this. Click this percentage meter in the middle to show the progress. And I will let this export. Okay, so it's done. It says share of master file was successful. Okay, so here it is. Let me just close that window. Here's the file. I'm gonna open it with a program called Video Spec. This is a pretty cool program. You open a video file with it, and it will show you all of the little details about it. For example, this is an MOV. There's the size. If you go down to video, it says format is Apple ProRes 422. That's the codec, the video codec, Apple ProRes. The most common video codec is H.264. So using this might or might not be a problem for you. Another thing to note is that the bit rate is 140 megabits per second, or 140,000 kilobits per second, and that's pretty big. That's huge. That's why it's that's why it's 5 gigabytes for a 5-minute video. And then a bunch of other stuff, and it shows you audio info down here. But that's a handy program for learning about a video file and troubleshooting, things like that. Okay, so that's using the share option. Now let me show you an alternative using Compressor. Compressor is a program that comes with Final Cut, as far as I know. You can use it to convert video files from one format to another, but you can also use it to export from Final Cut. And to do that, you go into Final Cut, and it's going to export whatever we have selected. So like if I were to just click one clip, it would only export that clip. To avoid that happening, I'm going to select my project up here. So project, here it is. It's selected. You say File, Send to Compressor. Here we are in Compressor. Here is our file. And first you want to make sure that the two side panels are open. If they're not, then there's buttons in the top left and top right to show or hide them. Next we need to make a custom setting. So all the way down at the bottom left there is a plus button. Click that and then click New Setting. The format. So what format do you want it to be? You could do just an audio file. You could do a certain type of video file. I'd like to make something really generic that can be used by a lot. So I'm going to do MPEG-4 or .mp4, and I'll call it demo, and you can add a description if you want. Okay, so here's our demo setting. So make sure that your setting is selected. Over here are all of the nitty-gritty details. You can see up here what it's going to come out as. But let's set this up. On the General tab, I usually just worry about default location, and I usually set that to desktop. That's just where it's going to be saved by default. Click over to the Video tab. Now you've got a bunch of stuff. So let's go through one by one. Frame size, you want that to be automatic. You want it to just be the same size as the video you're passing into it. You don't want it to crop it or shrink it down or anything like that. Next, frame rate, again, automatic. You don't want to be changing the frame rate during conversion, unless of course you specifically wanted to do that, but for the purpose of this video, we want automatic. H.264 profile. So this is putting an H.264 codec on it, which is good. It's really generic, compatible with a lot of things. There's baseline, main, or high. So high is going to be the highest quality, baseline is going to be the lowest. I would say go with high unless file size or speed is an issue. It's not going to be too bad if you do high. Next is entropy mode, and I just learned what this is minutes before creating this video. It's too complicated to explain, so I would just choose CAVLC. Next, keyframe interval. That is automatic again. Alright, now here's the important one, data rate. This is the bit rate. It's basically a number that determines the quality of your video. If you remember, our master file was 140,000, which is huge. Doesn't even fit in the box. I usually do 8,000. And that's a healthy balance between HD video and file size. So like if you need a smaller file, you can go smaller. If you need better quality, you can go higher. And we want multipass. And we can skip all this stuff because we're not changing our video. Then click over to the audio tab. The sample rate of your audio kind of depends on what you're passing into it. I'm going to do 48 for myself. And there's a separate bit rate for the audio. I'm going to leave it at 128. Alright, so the setting is created. We won't have to do that again. Here is our video that we sent in from Final Cut. And over here is our settings, so let's just click and drag that onto our video. You can see it's using the setting that I made. It is sending it to the desktop, and this is what it's going to be called. So you can like right click and change that location if you want. You can change the file name if you want, but I'm just going to click Start Batch. Oh, yeah, so you can load up multiple videos here. So you could export a few projects at once. And then you hit Start Batch. It brings us over to the Active tab, and you can see here is our batch. You can expand it to see all the different projects in the batch. We just have one. And it gives us our progress. So again, I'm just going to wait. Okay, so that's finished exporting. Here it is, how to export -demo. I'm going to open this one with video spec, compare a few things. Let's see. Okay, so this one is only 300 megabytes compared to the last one, which is 5 gigabytes. So huge file size difference. Here you can see it is H.264 instead of Apple ProRes. And then the bit rate is about 8,000 as opposed to, what was it, 140,000? So you can see how big of a difference that bit rate makes. So hopefully that clears up a few things. I showed you how to make a general MP4 H.264, but you can make many different types of videos using Compressor. It really depends on what you want to do with it. If you're uploading it to some special streaming host, they might have their own recommended encoding settings. There's different encoding settings for if you're going to project it, if you're going to broadcast it, if you're going to play it during a video conference. The one I showed you is just kind of a catch-all. So, hope that helps.